Recording. Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Digimon and Digital Monsters, Season 1, Episode 19. This will be about Episode 18 of Season 1. Now, before I actually start talking about it, I just want to mention to you guys, we are like 4 episodes away from the end of the second arc, which goes until Episode 21. 18, 19, 20, 21, yeah. 4 episodes left to go before we finish Arc 2, and also, I want to show you guys something. I'll show you this. I'm bored with this game of cat and mouse. Initiate plan, element 8. That's my Machine Dramon impression, guys. Now, if you guys like, you can probably leave a comment in the comment box, telling me what you thought about my impression. I just wanted to get that out of the way first and stuff. And now I'll get into the actual storyline of the episode. What happens is, in this way this episode starts off is Tai is saying to Agumon that he says that the weather doesn't seem pretty nice, but it's still a good day, and don't you think? And then Agumon makes a bit of a joke about that. He's like, "Yeah, if you're a scorpion." And then Mimi's looking at her crest that she got back in episode 18 of my own show, which was about episode 17. She's saying that it's beautiful and that every crest they found so far has been like different and stuff. And then what happens after that is Joe's saying that they need to learn. Matt's saying that Joe's saying that they need to learn how to use them, or else their Digimon will digivolve all messed up. And then Sora's saying that otherwise their Digimon could digivolve all messed up and stuff. Now I should quickly mention this: the second last episode of the second arc is also the first time we will see the true ultimate Digivolve form of Greymon, which I'll explain when I get to that point. I just wanted to let you guys know about that. Then Matt's saying that none of that really matters until they find like all the crests. And then what happens is after that, Izzy's kind of agreeing with Matt on that. He's like, "I think you're right, Matt. Maybe you're right, Matt. Maybe the crest power comes from having them all." And then what happens is, Ty's wondering what they're doing all the way over there, and he's telling them that they should keep going. If they're gonna stop, they gotta find some shade and stuff. And then what happens is TK's telling them that they were just in the middle of a very digit conversation about the crests, and what happens is he's saying that thanks to Ty, he made him forget what he was saying, and then he said that TK is saying that Ty and Agumon should try to find the shade and they'll catch up, and then something grabs them from underneath, and it turns out to be Kawagamon. If you guys remember back to episode 2 of my own show, which is about episode 1, that was the episode where Kawagamon was introduced, and what happens is after that, in the next scene, Izzy's like freaking out. He's like, "Ah, is that the same one, really?" And then Palmon is saying, "It's Kawagamon, all right. There's no mistaking that ugly face, but he sure is bigger than he was the last time." And then what happens is Agumon tries to use his pepper breath attack, and then what happens after that is he says that they've got a big problem because Kawagumon's a lot stronger than he used to be, which was back in episode. He wasn't as strong back in. He's a lot stronger than he used to be and stuff. And then Ty's saying to himself, rethinking their training program, and then he's having a flashback to episode 17 of my show, which is about episode 16, where the image of Skull Greymon shows up, and and then he's hoping Agumon doesn't like freak out and stuff. And then what happens is Agumon's also thinking to himself, what if something's wrong with me? What if I can't become Greymon? And then they're wanting, then Goemon's telling Agumon to move or do some kind of thing and stuff. And then what happens is after that, um, uh, Tai starts running to where Agumon is, and he tells him to stay away from his choppers and stuff. And then what happens is after that, um, Agumon's telling him that he did a nice one, like trying to save him. And then when Kuwagamon starts attacking them again, a ball that has like little wing things gets thrown at him, and there's a voice saying, "Pixie bombs, seek and destroy!" And then Kuwagamon disappears, and then what happens is Ty's wondering what happened to them, and then the image of this little pink little powder puff thing with wings shows up. Now I'll just mention who he is. His name is Piximon, and also he is another recurring character. He'll show up in episodes 40/41 of the Dark Master Saga, but he'll technically die at the beginning of 41. I just gotta get that out of the way. And when Behemoth recognizes him, she's saying that Piximon is famous in the digital world for his skills and training, but no one has ever met him before. His secret home that he has is the training ground for all the great Digimon fighters and stuff. And then what happens is Piximon is saying that he's heard of them too, but so far he's like not impressed with them, and he's telling them that the 7 of them are supposed to be the Digidestined, and he's like, "Ha! You better be careful, or you're gonna end up Digidestined." And then he's like, "Yep. Without my spears and my magic, Kuwagamon would be eating you with a side of Digifries." And then Mii's complaining a bit. She's like, "That's gross. Thanks a lot." And then what happens is Piximon gets angry with the Digimon also. He's like, "And that's not all. You Digimon there. You're supposed to protect the children, but half the time they're protecting you. I want to see some guts. I want to see some courage." And then what happens is Matt's looking over at everyone else, and he's saying that Piximon reminds him of a gym teacher he once had. And then Palmon gets a little upset. She says that Piximon's right. They just don't have any guts and stuff like that. And then what happens is Piximon says to them that the news isn't like all bad. That from now on they're all gonna go train with him and stuff. And he said especially Agumon and Tai. And then what happens is after that they start walking through the desert, and he's telling them just a little further, and then what happens is Joe's telling him that that's about the 10th time he said that, and Matt is wondering if he thinks Piximon's lost and stuff. And then what happens is they stop in the middle of the desert, and he says that they have arrived, and then Sora's wondering what he means by that, and says there's nothing there, and then he uses his magic, and then a hole pops up into the desert, and then it turns out to be a forest that's hidden in the desert and stuff, like a little barrier, basically. And then what happens is they go inside it, and then later on when they're walking through the forest part, Sora is seeing Edamon's trailer off in the distance. She said that, then Joe starts figuring out, he's like, "Oh boy, this isn't good." And then Piximon's saying that right out the front door he is too and stuff. And then he's telling them not to worry because Edamon can't see anything through the barrier. He sees like nothing but desert and stuff like that. And then what happens is Edamon's saying that he's like, "The stupid screen is still broken. What's taking so long?" And he's like, and then one of the Gadmon is telling him, "We almost got a fix for it, Edamon. No need for a connection fix." And then Edamon's freaking out again. He's like, "I'll show you a connection, Yanks." And then they're thinking, "Little worms, fix it right away. I gotta show you to get home." And then what happens is, after that, it goes back to where Tai and the others are with Piximon, You see all those stairs and stuff, and they start climbing up it and stuff, and then Sora's wondering if it's part of her training, their training and stuff, and Piximon says it is, and and then what hap- and then what happens is Tentamon is Piximon is saying that it is part of their training, and then Tentamon is saying that it's no sweat because he can just fly up there and stuff, and before they know it, he'll be relaxing by the pool and stuff, and then Piximon kind of stops them to tell him that there will be no flying by anyone during his training and stuff like that, and then what happens is after that, they start climbing up the stairs, and then what happens is he says that they've almost arrived, and there's plenty of food for all of them and stuff. And then later on, when they get to the house, what happens is Joe's saying that he mentioned something about food, and then Piximon's saying he's right, but first they must like earn it and stuff, and then Goemon's like a little upset. He's like, I should have known there'd be a catch, and then he uses his magic to get these buckets to appear, and he's like, I want you to scrub the floors, all the floors, and then they start scrubbing it, but he tells Agumon and Tai not them because he's got a special chore in mind for them. Now, what the special chore really is, it's a learning lesson, like a life learning lesson, basically. I just thought I'd get that out of it. And then, when they walk off and they go into a cave, Agumon says that it's pitch black where they are, and what happens is Ty's wondering what kind of chore could they do when they can't even see like their hands in front of their faces, and then they start slipping in, and then Piximon flies out of the area and tells them that this is their training, that they must find their way back and stuff. And what happens is in the morning, Piximon is waking everyone up, and he's telling them, rise. In the next scene, when it's night, what happens is Matt says that something's wrong. Tai and Agumon never came back from where they went, and then both Matt and Izzy's crest reacts, and they start going looking for them and stuff, and Matt's asking Izzy why he wants to find a crest and stuff, and Izzy states that it's mostly because of Tyrannomon. Basically, he wants to see what kind of form he'll transform into after that one. And then what happens is he's asking Matt why he wants to get a crest, if it's the same reason. And then Matt's saying that it's not. He wants to use the crest to like digivolve himself. And then what happens is he says that it's not because he wants to use the crest to digivolve himself, like I said, not into a Digimon or anything, but to make himself stronger and smarter, and maybe learn something more about himself and reach his next level and stuff like that, like a Digimon does, but not exactly the same. And what happens is that they go towards the barrier where it is, and Izzy says that she's wondering if they came all this way for nothing, and then what happens is they find out that the crest must be like out inside the well, and then Matt says that it's like outside the wall, and then Izzy is saying that that they're so close, and he sticks his hand into the end of the barrier. They go out of it, and then what happens is one of Edamon's black cables from his dark network shows up, and then what happens is after that, what happens is one of the Gazamons is telling him. Oh, I should also quickly mention what Matt and Izzy's crests are called. After they get their crests are called Matt's crest is called the crest of friendship, and Izzy's crest is called the crest of knowledge. I thought I'd get that out of the way for you guys. And when the cable portion of Edamon's network shows up, one of the Gazamons is telling him that they have contact in Sector C3, and then Edamon's freaking out, and he grabs the Gazamon's neck, and he's like shaking it, and he's like, "What? Well, that's the sector we just passed through! Turn it around, you little whippersnapper!" And then he's laughing and stuff. He's like, "C3 is Tyrannomon's territory. Send him at once. I love a roadie with a good appetite." And if you guys are wondering who Tyrannomon is, um, and then the Rackable sends, and then Tyrannomon shows up. And now, if you're wondering who he is, guys, he's actually a dinosaur like Digimon, like Agumon and Greymon, except to his special attack. I know this from season 2, episode 3. His special attack is called Blaze Blast, which is basically a blast of fire that he shoots out of his mouth. Oh, and there are 2 versions of him that'll show up in this series and in the next series. But the second one in this first season won't show up until episode 35 of arc number 3, where when they're fighting Myotismon and stuff. I don't want to get when they're fighting the next major villain of the season. I thought I'd mention that since there are 2 versions of him and stuff, and then when Tyrannomon's character bio shows up, Piximon's voice is calling, and he's like, "Tyrannomon, a huge Digimon with fire breath, strong enough to cook a couple little boys like you." And then Tyrannomon uses his fire breath attack, like his Blaze Blast attack, which is what it's called in episode 3 of season 2, by the way. He shatters the glass wall that was hiding the barrier that was hiding Piximon's little house inside his place. And then when it goes back to where Gabumon is, and then what happens is Tedamon is saying that that he could be in trouble, and then after what happens is Gabumon says that Matt's there as well, and that Tedamon is also saying that they should go find them. And then what happens is in the next scene where it shows Tai and Agumon when they were in the boat. See, they were in the boat and stuff, and then little stuff happened. When they're in the boat again, Tai's complaining a bit. He's like, "It's no use. The more we fight it, the farther away we drift." Now, before I continue with that, I just want to mention Etamon kind of uses his dark network to sap all the Digimon of their energy so they can't actually Digivolve, so that makes Planet the Crest kind of useless. And then what happens is it goes back to where Tai is when he sees the bridge, he remembers it, and then it shows him when he was a young kid trying to ride his bike. And then what happens is the older version of him, which is there, is telling him not to give up, but he's made a ton of mistakes. You can't give up because of one mistake you made. And then he's also saying that he's made plenty and you ought to know. And then what happens is after that, he tells his younger self that he has to get up and try again and stuff. And then he goes on his bike again. And then Agumon and the older version of Tai, they're pushing the younger version of Tai's bike for him to keep him up. And then they let go and they start going, and he starts going on the bike, and then Tai realizes what the lesson was really about. He says that it's all about overcoming their fears, because he was so afraid of Agumon digivolving into Skull Greymon again that he lost it. And then what happens is, after that, Agumon's saying that he must be some kind of mind reader, because that same fear stopped him from digivolving to Greymon. And after he says that if they really believe in themselves, it'll be just like riding on a bike and stuff. They go back, and then they see that the others are in trouble. Then it goes to the digivolving scene, and then what happens is after that, after Greymon fights Tyrannomon and manages to expunge the black cables, Etamon is freaking out again. Like before that, Piximon's thinking to himself, "Well, they cut it really close, but they did it." And then Etamon's freaking out again, and he's like, "Those rotten kids beat me again! Well, I gotta find something else to beat, like some cardboard boxes or something!" And then what happens is it goes to where Tai and the others are with Piximon. Matt is thanking them because they learned a lot from him and stuff. And then after Joe says that how to scrub floors and starve after death. They go over to where they go over to the other end, and then in a final narration scene, Piximon is thinking to himself, "They truly are destined. Yep, no doubt of I. For though they are sometimes foolish, I have seen the love in their hearts. With a little luck, they may just succeed and save our digital world." And that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video on YouTube, just please give it the very, very best you guys can. And I'll see you guys next time. Keep it digital.